Hi guys, happy live. Sorry I was a little late. It said a few times that I couldn't go live, so I don't know what happened. I uninstalled my app and then reinstalled it. So I am here. Thank you guys for popping in. It is the first day of things open again, so it shows how much I love you guys because I should be getting a pedicure and instead I'm here with you. So thank you for popping in. And I know a lot of people are taking an extra long weekend because the highway was pretty packed going north. So thank you for popping in. Hi Scotty, hi Christina, how are you guys? I'm going to do my normal, which is I'm going to go over your guys' question and answer. You can feel free to write them in the chat or I will answer ones that have come in throughout the week. I'll also do real estate updates, some local and some across the board. And I will also do happy stories, okay? So we're going to start with the first question, which is Graham from Barrie. And Graham from Barrie says, I know there's talk of an interest hike eventually, but how much would that really affect my mortgage? Would my monthly payment, for example, go from $1,750 to $5,000? I can handle a bit, but not that much, and it worries me and makes me want to sell and just rent, so I have a cash pile just in case something were to happen. Thank you, Graham, for asking. I'm actually going to cover that later in the real estate section because a lot of people have been asking that and wondering, and there's constant talk and buzz about what if, Bank of Canada does raise its rates and so forth. So stay tuned to about halfway through and I'll go through all of that in more detail, okay? Sorry to not answer it directly, but I will cover it later. So a lot of people bitch about their jobs and so forth and a lot of things. It's too hot, it's too cold, etc. But there's one 20-year-old that is not. And basically he is walking 17 miles a day, which I Googled is 27 kilometers, which is basically like me walking from where I am right now, downtown Barrie to Innisfil. Hi, Christina. I know it's a delay. You probably said hi before, but it just came up now. So me walking from Barrie to downtown Innisfil, it's over 3 hours, and he does that every single day one way. He's 20 years old. And his mother passed away 4 years ago, so he wants to just help his family out because now they've went from 2 incomes down to 1. So he's a cook at Wild Wing, and this man was driving, and he saw him while he was driving into the city he was going, and he saw the guy walking, and then he was driving back home, and he saw the guy walking, and he pulled over and asked him if he needed a ride. The guy explained things and so forth, and he took a selfie and posted it on Facebook. It ended up being shared more than 1,000 times. Like he put a little blurb about the guy and his determination and so forth. So somebody donated a bike. So now he can ride his bike. And then somebody else started a GoFundMe. So he actually currently doesn't have his driver's license. So the GoFundMe is to buy him a car, but he can't drive yet. So in the meantime, he's going to ride his bike, which will shorten his days. And then he'll just help out with his family, but he wants to be a welder, so I thought it was super cute because a lot of people, complain about everything, and meanwhile there's this kid walking over 6 hours a day. He's not really a kid, but a kid to me, 20, and just because he's so determined and to help out his family. So I thought that was cute. So the next question comes from Emily and Amanda in Innisfil. So Emily and Amanda said, we're cousins and we're both RNs and thinking of buying together. Do you think we should get a 2-kitchen home and live separately, or what would be our best scenario? Thank you, Emily and Amanda, for asking, and thank you for your service and frontline work. I personally, it depends how much you guys obviously get along, but I would buy a 2-kitchen home and then you guys live together in the one part, not separately, both having your own kitchens, because I'm assuming you guys are maybe similar age and get along. So let's just say your side has maybe 3 or 4 bedrooms. Let's just say 3. You could rent out the other bedroom, let's say for $700 to $800 a month. Plus then you could rent out the apartment depending on the size and so forth. But let's just say it's $1,500 or $1,700 or what have you. So you have both of those incomes, which probably will make you live for free plus make money. So it's a good way just to get ahead. And then if you guys want to go separately after that, or if you want to rent out both units after that and you guys move onwards, say maybe you start dating somebody or so forth, that would be my suggestion for you, but thank you for asking. So the next thing was, people having puppy fever. And for anybody that's not watched this before, I say some happy news before I do the real estate. So stay tuned for real estate. Obviously, a lot of people have had puppy fever during the pandemic. And there's a man in Shanghai, China, and he saved over 8,000 dogs. He started in 1994. And he's saved over 8,000, so basically 300 a year, so almost like one a day. So if you are having puppy fever, if they are well enough, he does ship them overseas. He spends over $2.5 million. He gets he has like all these people that donate to him there and so forth, and all of these charitable things towards him because he's been doing it so long, over 25 years, and he can send you a puppy or dog. So maybe you want to save a dog instead of getting one from here. I don't know, it's just a thought. The next question comes from, and again, you guys can put questions in here if you like. So next question is from Yasmin in Newmarket. I hope I said your name correctly. So Yasmin in Newmarket said, I recently separated from my husband and we don't have the separation agreement all sorted out yet, but I would really like to get into a new place before school starts again. Do I have any options with mortgages? Thank you, Yasmin, for asking. I am a real estate broker, not a mortgage broker. So I don't know if B lenders, like I know that A lenders want to know, are you getting $800 in child support? Are you getting $1,800 in child support? Are you getting $50,000 from the sale of your home? Are you getting bought out for $400,000? I don't know like all the details and so forth. So obviously they would need to know that. I don't know if you guys have sold your home, etc. B lenders aren't as picky with it, so they might just say, hey, sign here and say that you have your spousal agreement even if you don't have it. And let's just say A lenders won't do it and B lenders won't do it. You could always do a private, and then you could just get a regular lender, whether A or B, depending on your job situation and credit and so forth, once you have the actual spousal agreement. Now there is fees on that. It could be 1.5% a fee, like on top of the already high interest on the private. So privates are going to be around 7 to 10% in interest. Plus they are going to have fees to the financial institution or whoever did the mortgage. And they're usually 1.5 all the way up to 3.5 if they're really loan sharks. But I would say 1.5 is a normal. So you might work it out and do, depending on the mortgage, and you might say, hey, that's $20,000 or $25,000. You might say, for that, I'll just move in November when I have the actual paper. Or you might say, no, it's worth it for me to get settled with the kids before school starts. I'm not sure. But thank you for asking, and I wish you well on your new home and so forth. So there's one more thing before the real estate section. So I don't know if you guys will be in a rocking chair when you're 81, but there was a lady, Mildred, I almost said Meredith, Mildred in Missouri, lots of M's, and she's 81 and she just finished her second Tough Mudder. I have never done one of those, but I've seen, they like crawl on their forearms and climb over walls and so forth, and there's mud and boulders, etc. And it's 5 kilometers. She did her first one in 2019 when her grandson asked her, and her husband, cheered her over the finish line. He has since passed away, and so she just did her second, and she said she's not stopping. She's going to keep going. So I just like that, because some of us have gotten a little lazy during the pandemic, and so this 81-year-old is kicking our butts. So we need to take her, example. So real estate, one thing before real estate, as I flip to that section, is our $2,500 giveaway is tomorrow. So on the first of every month, we give $2,500 to somebody. We say it's for their mortgage payment or their rent payment, but in reality, it could be to buy whatever they want, or to pay off a visa, or pay off a student loan, etc. So you have until midnight tonight. I would prefer if you don't wait till midnight, because that keeps me up late deciding with my team. It just has to be somebody that lives in Simcoe County. The person that nominates them does not have to live in Simcoe County. They can live in Arkansas, they can live in New Zealand, etc. But the winner has to live in Simcoe County, okay? And they have to be over the age of 18. Just send us a written or video submission to info@crippshomes.com. Again, info@crippshomes.com, and tell us who you are and who they are and why you think they are deserving of winning. And we'll never tell their personal information tomorrow when we go live at 9 a.m. Okay? Okay. So real estate, I think I went too far. Anyways, so what will happen in the summer market? So a lot of people have been, emailing and calling and so forth about that, messaging about that. So basically it's going to be a bit quieter throughout the summer. There's a bit of buyer fatigue. So buyer fatigue means people have either already bought and they already have their closing date, or they're annoyed with multiple offers. They've been bidding wars, etc., and they're just frustrated with the situation. So they're just going to take a break for a bit. As we know, today is the second phase, so a bunch of more things have opened. So some people are like, I'm going to go take a vacation, I'm double vaccinated, etc. So they want to go do things. So they want to go camping, they want to go to Wonderland, etc. So it's thought by, I'd say 99% of economists, that it will be a bit of a lull in the summer, and then it'll come back in the fall and be crazy again in the fall. So that is for a lot of people that have been asking me about that. It has been crazy for about a year. In the past, like since February, has been insanity. but definitely for a year has been crazy, which we were not, anybody thought when it first started in March. Nobody thought we'd have such a crazy, half and rest of the year, which we did, and then even crazier this year. So it is not going to be crazy this summer like last summer, but really last summer was just our spring pushed into summer, because our spring didn't really happen because it's like pandemic and what's going on in the world, etc. So then once people knew what was going on in the world, it pushed it into summer. So our summer was crazy like our spring normally is. So our spring this year has been crazy, and so our summer is expected just to have a lull. People go and do their summer things, and then fall it will return. Just so you know, for those of you that were curious. What else? They're still obviously dependent, right? So we don't know what's going to happen in the fall. We don't know, are borders going to be open? Is immigration going to be open? Are foreign students going to be allowed to come? So that will obviously affect it. And then let's just say the Bank of Canada is like, by the way, we're upping from 0.25 to 1.8 or something like that. That'll change things. But currently, with the lack of inventory and so forth, which was even before COVID, they're still expecting a strong fall, just a lull in the summer. So not lull as in down, just not craziness, okay? What else? There's been some areas in Ontario the past 2 months that have had lower numbers, so lower number of homes sold in the past 2 months. However, their actual average sales price is not down. So some people I know have messaged me and been like, the prices are down, I heard this and it's so awful and whatever. It's not awful. They're still selling for more. There's just less homes selling. But it's nothing to be afraid of. And I had mentioned on one of the other talks, let's just say, something before was listed for 600 and it was selling for 820. Now it's listing like 775 and selling for 8 or 820 or 830. So it's still selling in the same bracket, still price range. It's just started differently, okay? Hi, Dwayne, how are you? Late, of course. I saw a cute picture of you, Dwayne, and Layla in the pool. Very sweet. I don't think I've talked to you since Father's Day, so I hope you had a good Father's Day. Hope you have a great long weekend. Okay, so what else? The average sales price of homes in the GTA, so not where I'm located, but in between here and Toronto, is just over 1.4 million, 1.415698 to be exact, which is no wonder people come up to Barrie and they're like, woohoo, it's amazing, because 1.4 is insanity to me. But then they come up here and they think they won the jackpot, whereas the local people still think they're crazy for what they're paying. But anyways, that is what it is. And then speaking of high prices, there was just the highest sale ever in Victoria, which was $14.1 million for a home. It was on a oceanfront street, and normally homes on that street go anywhere from 7 to 9 million. This one was just shy of 11,000 square feet, and again sold at 14.1 million. So it's a little crazy, so I shouldn't really complain about local prices if that's going on there. Obviously, it was a gorgeous house. So interest rates, again, I forget who it was, somebody asked earlier about interest rates. So even if interest rates go up, it's not like your mortgage payment is going to double. For your mortgage payment to physically double, so it's $1,500 a month, to jump to $3,000 a month, the interest rate actually has to go up 4 times, not twice, it has to go up 4 times. So if you were paying 2%, it would have to go up to 8% for your mortgage payment to actually double, which is obviously incredibly unlikely. So don't have to worry about that. But I will give you an example if it did double, okay? So if you had a $500,000 mortgage, which is a fairly common mortgage, your your mortgage payment would be $2,213. And if your the mortgage rate went from 2.4 to 4.8, your payment would go to $2,846 a month, which is just over $630, so $633 more a month. So you're $2,213, and then you jump to $2,846. So again, only $633 more. So even though your rate doubled from 2.4 to 4.8, your your mortgage payment did not double, okay? So I know a lot of people think that mortgage rates double, then so does our payment every month, which is not true. So again, for it to actually double, the interest rate has to quadruple, okay? So I know a lot of you have been asking that, so that's why I wanted to cover that. But thank you guys for asking. 80% also of Canadians, not just Ontario or locally or whatever, they have fixed mortgages. So if you have a fixed mortgage, it doesn't matter if the interest rate goes up until you go to renew your mortgage. However, if you have a HELOC, which is a home equity line of credit, they will be affected by if an interest rate, happens. So if, you do have a HELOC of 150 on your home or something like that, then it's usually just interest only, to be honest, on HELOC. So it's not as big because it's not principal plus interest. But so you might have a different payment due to that. But some people have been saying like, hey, I'm afraid that the rate's going to be up higher in 2023 when my mortgage renews. So they're just locking in now for 5 years because they're like, that way I know I'm locked in at 2% or 1.8 or whatever it is that they can get. And then they don't have to worry about it in 5 years. Sorry, these bubbles are so little, it's hard to see who's on there, or maybe I need glasses. I apologize if I haven't said hi to you. So that is what's basically been going on with people asking about, if it still affects them if they're fixed as opposed to variable and so forth, and that the rates would have to quadruple for your payment to actually double, okay? So this isn't specifically homes per se, but there is a company and basically they have been going around to different parking lots, seeing who owns them and so forth, and trying to make better use of them. So obviously with COVID, a lot of things have changed. So they've already taken over 5,000 parking lots, mostly in Toronto, Calgary, and Edmonton, and they want to take over Montreal and what was the other one? Vancouver next. And basically they're making it more functional. So they're making it a restaurant or they're making it an art gallery, etc. And because obviously having a parking lot is way cheaper than having a building, they can then give cheaper rents to the people to have the restaurant or to have the art gallery or to have a yoga studio, etc. It's obviously not a brick and mortar structure, but they're still making it work. So they have over 5,000 that they have opened since COVID, and they have employed more than 15,000 people already. So that is cool. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the Greener Homes Grant. So basically you can get $5,000 and they're giving $2.6 billion with a B billion dollars away. So if you get new windows or doors, or you get new insulation, or you get new siding, anything that will help the R value of your home. You even get a heat pump or something with your heating to make it more efficient. You have a 40-year-old oil furnace or something and you update it, then you could get possibly up to $5,000. If you spend $25,000, they're not going to give you $25,000, but $5,000 is still better than a kick in the butt, if you ask me. And also they said that that's going to add 110,000 approximate jobs, which is good as well. So I know a lot of times I talk about freehold homes and not as much do I talk about condos. So somebody was bugging me about that. So I said, fine, I'll cover a bit on condos. So condos have gone up over 44% in the past 4 years. So from April 2017 to June 2021, they've gone up more than 44%. So why are they still up 44% considering like 2020 was almost flatline for them? They had a bit of a peak at the end of the year. So usually people, if they buy a condo, they can't afford to buy a freehold home. I am in a condo right now. It was not my reason. I bought it for the view, but anyways, so they can't afford it, but they don't want to rent. And then other people, it's still close to usually public transit or a highway, etc. So they're still quite popular. So 44% is still good if you ask me. And then another thing is there's still lack of inventory. So let's just say you see a sign and it says imagine the views. It's probably going to be 8 to 10 years before that condo actually gets built. So it's hard for them to keep up. And in Barrie specifically, we obviously don't have a lot of condos. There's more in downtown Toronto, etc., but there's not a lot up here. So that is why they're up on average 44% in the past 4 years. So there was a recent study that basically went over people and them buying homes and so forth. So 66% of the Canadians, because sometimes I do surveys on here from the States, 66% of the Canadians said they were stressed about the prices of homes, which is obviously a fair amount. More than a third of them said they can't buy the home that they want. That part I don't really, I'm like, yeah, well, they all want a castle. They all want a $2 million house for a $300,000 budget. So that I'm like, meh, whatever. Have to start somewhere. And 57% of renters said they rent because they can't afford to buy, which I actually thought would be higher. 64% of people said they rent because they can't afford to come up with the down payment. 54% said they struggle with the mortgage payment that they have, so they don't want to get a bigger one or try to get a different one or so forth. 50% of people said that due to their debt to service ratio, they can't get a mortgage. So they have maybe child support payment, they have OSAP payment, they have which is student loan. They have maybe credit card bills, etc., really high card payments and so forth. So even though that was basically half of people, that was 6% less than 2019. So even though 50% can't qualify due to their debt to service ratio, that was 6% less. So that's good. At least it's getting better. 44% of people said they fear their job stability. So they think, what if I lose my job? Then I can't afford it. 43% said they think that they can pay for the mortgage payment and the interest and their utilities, but they're afraid they can't pay the property tax and upkeep and maintenance of the home. And 22% of people said there's just not enough inventory and they can't find what they like. So that is that. And then the top 5 reasons that people say that, mortgage brokers say that people can't afford a mortgage, or get a mortgage, I should say, not afford. Cancel that. Top 5 reasons people can't get a mortgage is 1, their income's too low. 2, they have bad credit. 3, they don't have the down payment. 4, they move jobs too often. And 5, the bank doesn't like the property or the location of it. Let's just say it's in Timbuktu, 9 hours from a major city, and the bank's like, we don't want that home, it's way too far away. So those are the main things. And then another thing was it showed a lot of people that do finally save some money. Usually, let's just say they're like, oh, I saved $40,000 or $50,000, but then they owe $40,000 or $50,000 on their student loan or visa, so it just comes out in the wash. So it's really hard for people to get ahead. So I was talking a lot. The next question is from Mahul in Barrie. Mahul said, my wife and I recently moved here from Etobicoke, but we aren't settling in as much as we had hoped and are considering moving back. Do you think we should keep it so we don't have to pay capital gains, or should we sell it and take our losses, or what do you suggest? Thank you, Mahul, for asking. So capital gains, like a lot of people think it's a year. So they think, okay, I've lived in the house for 13 months, so I'm not going to pay capital gains. That's not actually true. I don't know why people think that. You could live in the home for only 2 months and pay capital gains. You could live in the house for 6 years and capital gains. You could live in the house for 2 months and not pay capital gains. It's just what CRA thinks. If they think you're doing it for a means to make money, so if you're doing it all the time, they absolutely know that you're doing it to make money and it's kind of like a business and so forth, you're flipping, etc. But if you've never done it before, there's a really good chance that they're not going to come after you, especially if you're not a contractor by trade or real estate professional by trade, etc. They're going to look at that as well. So if you're doing it again all the time, then it doesn't matter. You could be there 2 years and they could still charge you capital gains. So it just depends how often you're doing it and so forth. You could always just rent it. If it's somewhere that you could Airbnb, I don't know, obviously the location, possibly you could do that. But kind of up to you, because if you rent it, then you might not have the funds to buy when you go back to Etobicoke, or maybe you kept your home in Etobicoke. I don't know. I don't know if you are up for being a landlord or not. But yeah, that's what I would say about capital gains. But you could also message me privately and I can go over that more as well. So let me see. So obviously we're in the moving business. So there was a fellow, a college student, and he was in between moving, and he had a whole bunch of clothes and shoes and stuff in the back of his trunk, and he was going from his one apartment to the other apartment, and he was going to take it to like a Salvation Army or Goodwill or whatever, and he saw a man, with a sign at the side of the road looking for money or food, and he just popped his trunk, gave him all the stuff out of the trunk. He didn't know the person behind him, started to videotape it and posted it online, which it doesn't really matter that they posted it online. However, hopefully it makes other people, want to be generous as well and not say, oh, I'll sell it online and make some money or whatever, and just give it to somebody and pay it forward. So I thought that was cute, especially because he's in college, and, a lot of college kids are thinking of other things than that. So I thought that was nice. Next question is from Brock in Oro. So Brock in Oro said, I have a boat, a trailer, and a home, and figured instead of the marina fees and park association fees that I sell everything and just get a waterfront locally. But I'm afraid to be in competition with all of the Toronto buyers. What should I do? Thank you, Brock, for asking. To be honest, like I mentioned, there is going to be a bit of a lull in the summer. So maybe as the Toronto buyers are all busy doing other things, you can get in there. And for example, in February, February 15th, February 20th, March 5th, etc., there was minimum 20 offers. Lots of times there was 35 offers, 42 offers, etc. And now there's like 2 offers or 5 offers. The odd time there's still like 11 to 13, but that's more in the like 400 to 600,000 range, which waterfront you wouldn't be in that range. So I would say there would be under 3 offers most likely if you're on waterfront, again, depending on your price point. So you could take advantage of the bit of the lull in the summer, and you could also take advantage of that a lot of people wanted to be in, let's just say by July 1st, so they could enjoy all of July and August. And maybe you could put it, for example, October 1st, so the people that own it can enjoy it for the whole summer, gives you time to sell your things, and then they get to have their cake and eat it too as well. So that's what I would say. But you can still get properties. It's not like you're going to get a bid, as long as you can obviously be approved for that price. You don't want to say, oh, I'm approved for 800, and then, you know, the cheapest waterfront you can get is 1.1 or something. Then that doesn't make sense. So it kind of depends on the bigger picture. But thank you for asking. But you could still get a deal. But yeah, I agree with that, because like marina fees, it could be 6,000, and then let's just say your park for the trailer is like 3,500 plus the property tax where you live. So it absolutely makes sense. So I like your thinking. So what was the next thing I was going to say? Oh yeah. Before I was saying about like excuses, like that 81-year-old lady has no excuses, but there was also a man that was 42, and he's from England. He lost his leg 4 years ago due to a blood clot. He has 2 kids, and at first he was like really depressed and so forth. And then he started to go to the gym 5-6 times a week. He ended up getting a prosthetic leg and started hiking and stuff. And he just finished climbing the 3rd highest mountain. It took him like 27 hours or something. And he opened a kids camp called AMP Camp. So any children with any kind of amputations can go there. And anyway, so instead of using his, disability as, this is my whatever and blah, blah, he's using it as, okay, this is how I'm going to better my life and help others, so the kids don't feel like they're not a part of something and so forth. He's bringing it together as a community. And I just like it's, he's using it as an opportunity instead of just, oh, this is my disability. He's using it as a way to grow himself and so forth and help others in the meantime. So I like that. Next question is from Jennifer from Angus. So Jennifer from Angus said, I know you have the $2,500 giveaway coming up. Am I allowed to nominate my family, or is that not allowed? Jennifer, originally we said it wasn't allowed. We said you had to nominate somebody else because it was about paying it forward. We still prefer that, to be honest, but if you want to nominate yourself, you can, and we may possibly pick you. I don't know. We don't ever tell people's personal stories, so don't worry about us telling anything private that you don't want anyone to know. We never tell anybody's private stuff, so we prefer it not to be about yourself. We'd rather you pick somebody at a local store that you go into, or a neighbor, or a friend, or whoever, an organization or what have you. So we prefer it not to be, but you could. And again, deadline is tonight at midnight, but thank you for asking. And what is the next thing? Oh yeah, so people have been giving more since the pandemic, which is awesome, because obviously, there's a lot going on in the world and some uncertainty and so forth, but the amount of money given to charities is up 5.1%. So in the past year, there's been $471.44 billion with a B dollars given, and that was just in the US, so not counting Canada or anywhere else. So that is crazy. And I thought I personally thought majority would come from like big businesses and corporations, etc. But the majority of it, 324 and change billion, came from individuals. So that is amazing. That was up 2.2%. So I like that people are in the giving mood and they realize that there's a lot that they can do to help, and they're not just sitting on the sidelines. So that is amazing. So that is it from me. I hope you guys stay tuned, or tune in, I should say, tomorrow morning at 9 to see who wins the $2,500 giveaway. Again, it is for rent or mortgage payment, we say, but in reality, it could go for whatever they like. Hope you guys stay safe, enjoy your shopping or pedicures or haircuts or whatever you guys are doing. Have a super safe night, and be kind to one another. I can't even speak. One another. Be kind to one another. I'm going to go. I need to learn how to speak. Bye.